Hello, Father Fred here again today, and time flies. We started out with Adam, and we got through him, his children. Then we went to Noah, had the flood, took care of him. Then we had Abraham, and remember he was going to sacrifice his son Isaac, and we're past Abraham, and we're past Isaac, and we're with Jacob now, but mainly we're getting away from Jacob now because we're going to Jacob's favorite son, that is Joseph. Remember, in the past, his father Jacob liked Joseph so much that the others were always mad. And so he gave him a beautiful coat, didn't give anything to the others. So the others got mad. They threw him in the cistern. They were going to kill him, but then they thought, well, let's just pull him out of the cistern and sell him to these Ishmaelites, and they'll take him down into Africa, down into Egypt. And when they got into Egypt, he was such a person that was had such a good personality, and such good things happened to him that he became the favorite of Pharaoh, which means king in Egypt. Well, everything was going fine except Pharaoh's wife kind of got to taking a liking to him, and she wanted him to lie with her, and he wouldn't do it, so he ran off. So she lied and told her daddy or told her husband that he had tried to take advantage of her. And so her husband got mad, the Pharaoh, after he had been treating him so well. He got him and threw him into jail. Well, we're going to look now. If it weren't for bad luck, well, he would have no luck at all. And it seemed like back there in chapter 39 that Joseph, if it hadn't been for bad luck, he wouldn't have had any luck at all. So everything in chapter 39 was from the southern kingdom. It used the word Lord for the supreme being all the way through, and had one special phrase that he kept using. He kept saying that the Lord was with him. He said that several times. And you'd think, man, if the Lord's with him, I'm sure glad that I don't know what it'd be like if the Lord was not with him. Well, now we're going to jump, and it's going to be entirely different. We're going to come in with something and it's going to be from the northern kingdom. And this redactor just takes one part of the story from one person, one from another part, and fuses them together to make it seem like one long story. But we can find all the discrepancies in it if we're trying to read it literally. And so people that try to read it literally stay away from things like we're studying. They stay away from them because it's threatening to them, because they believe God spoke all of these words and he cannot say things that are contradictory. So back there in that flood story, whenever there's two that God says to put on this boat of animals in one place and 14 in another, you don't ever hear about the 14. They pretend that it's not there because they can't make 2 equal 14. So now we're going to go to chapter 40. And in chapter 40, it's not going to be the Lord anymore. It's going to be it's going to be the northern part now, the northern kingdom. And it's going to be that because we know that in the northern kingdom, God speaks through dreams. And we've got dreams all through chapter 40 and 41. So let's get started with verse 1 in chapter 40. And the title is The Dreams Interpreted. And we can go through this pretty rapidly because it's a pretty interesting story. But it's not got anything where you have to go back from one chapter to another because it's all E. It's all in the north. It's all going to be with dreams. So verse 1. Sometime afterward, the royal cupbearer and the baker offended their lord, the king of Egypt. We have heard nothing about any cupbearer or baker. This is a completely new story. Has nothing to do with chapter 39. It's by a different writer. Verse 2. Pharaoh was angry with the two officials, the chief cupbearer and the baker. Now the cupbearer is the one that pours wine for the king to drink, and the chief baker is the one that prepares the food for him. And he's mad at him. Never does tell us why. He's just mad at it. It's just so that we can carry on the story. He has to put them into prison because that's where Joseph is, and we're going to get Joseph out of prison, and they're going to be his way out. Verse 3. And he put them in custody in the house of the chief steward, the same jail where Joseph was confined. Wouldn't you know it? Yeah. We got to get Joseph out of there, so we're going to put the cupbearer and the baker in there. And they're going to get him out because of dreams. Verse 4. The chief steward assigned Joseph to them, and he became their attendant, or their overseer. He watched to see how they were doing. After they had been in custody for some time, verse 5, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the jail, both had dreams on the same night. We're going to have dreams. This tells us that it's from the north. They both had dreams on the same night, and each his own dream, and each dream with its own meaning. But they don't know what it is. Verse 6. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they looked disturbed. Yeah, because they dreamed, and they don't know what the dreams mean. So he asked Pharaoh's officials, who were with him in custody of his master's house, why do you look so troubled today? Verse 8, they answered him, we have had dreams, but there's no one to interpret them. Joseph said to them, do interpretations not come from God? God is the only one that can interpret them. But now look at the next line. Please tell me the dreams. He says only God can interpret them, and now he's going to interpret them. So he's telling them, or maybe telling himself, that he can interpret these dreams and only God can do it. So he must be speaking for God through dreams. Verse 9. You remember back when we first heard about Joseph, he had a dream that his wheat would stand up, and there were 11 more sheaths of wheat, and they all bowed down. That meant his brothers were bowing down to him. And this is the story. It's leading to his brothers. It's going to be a roundabout way, but it's leading to his brothers going to bow down to him. Verse 9. Look at verse 8. They answered him, we have dreams, but there's no one to interpret them. And Jesus said to them, do interpretations not come from God? So that's what we were reading just a moment ago. Please tell me the dreams. Verse 9 says, then the cupbearer, he's the one that pours the wine for the king, the cupbearer told Jesus his dream. In my dream, he said, I saw a vine in front of me. And on the vine were 3 branches. Now 3 is a number that's used over and over. 3 days that Jesus stayed in the tomb. 3 days Jonah was in the whale. 3 days that it's just 3. We have the Trinity. 3 is a number that means something that belongs to God. 3 and 7 and 12. Those are the 3 main numbers. And 40 is used a lot to mean just a lot. Verse 10, and on the vine 3 branches. It had barely budded when its blossoms came out and its clusters ripened into grapes. So the grapevines. And that's where they get the wine. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand. This is his dream. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, so I took the grapes, pressed them out into his cup, and put them in Pharaoh's hand. Joseph said to him, this is its interpretation. Now remember, he just said only God can interpret. So he's speaking for God. This writer has Joseph speaking for God through dreams. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will single you out and restore you to your post. You will be handing Pharaoh his cup as you formerly did when you were his cupbearer. So he's going to get out, and it's going to be good news. So he's happy. But look out for the poor baker. Verse 14. Only think of me when all is well with you, and please do me the great favor of mentioning me to Pharaoh to get me out of this place. He wants out of there. He hasn't done anything wrong. Just remember me. Verse 15. The truth is that I was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, where he used to live in Canaan, and I have not done anything here that they should have put me into a dungeon. Now he's talking about his brothers back there in Hebrews, but now he's talking about being put into a dungeon. Verse 16. When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given a favorable interpretation, he said to him, I too had a dream. In it I had 3 bread baskets on my head. Now he's the baker, so he's going to have bread. Verse 17. On the top were all kinds of bakery products for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. Joseph said to him in reply, this is its interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will single you out and will impale you on a stake, and the birds will be eating your flesh. That's not the interpretation that he wanted to get. And so on the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, when he gave a banquet to all of his servants, he singled out the chief cupbearer and chief baker in the midst of his servants. This is not going to be good. He restored the chief cupbearer to his office so that he again handed the cup to Pharaoh, the cup with wine. But, looky here, verse 22, but the chief baker he impaled. He nailed him out there. He impaled him just as Joseph had told him in his interpretation. Yet the chief cupbearer did not think of Joseph. He forgot about him. So he's the chief cupbearer. He's back now. He's where he should be. But he forgot to talk to him about Joseph, to let him know. And that's how the story goes. That's the end of chapter 39, of chapter 40. And it's so short. So let's go to chapter 41. And it's going to be the same situation. Here we are. Chapter 41, verse 1. After a lapse of 2 years, now 2 years have gone by, Pharaoh has a dream. Got to get the dreams now. Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile. That's the main river in Egypt. When he got out of the Nile, when up out of the Nile came 7 cows. Now 7 is also a number. Just like we have 7 sacraments in the church, 7 days in the week. In the book of Revelation, the number 7 appears 54 times, and a lot of numbers don't appear any. 7 just meant perfect or complete. Verse 2. When up out of the Nile came 7 cows, fine looking and fat. They grazed on the reed grass. They were there doing fine until verse 3. Behind them, 7 other cows, poor looking and gaunt. They're skinny. They're ugly cows. They came up out of the Nile, and standing on the bank of the Nile beside the others, the poor-looking gaunt cows devoured the 7 fine-looking fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. So he's had his dream now. He fell asleep again and had another dream. He saw 7 ears of grain, fat and healthy, growing up on a single stalk. Verse 6, behind them sprouted 7 ears of grain, thin and scorched by the east wind, and the thin ears swallowed up the 7 fat ones. The 7 fat, healthy ones. Then Pharaoh woke up. It was a dream. So he's had 2 dreams now. So you pretty can well imagine what's going to be coming. Verse 8. Next morning, his mind was agitated, just like the 2 guys that were in the prison. Dreams stir him up. Still on verse 8. So Pharaoh had all the magicians and sages of Egypt summoned and recounted his dream to them, but there was no one to interpret it for them. For him, they could not interpret those dreams. So what's going to happen? Oh, verse 9, then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, "Now I remember my negligence." I forgot to say this. He's not very, you'd think if he got his freedom because of that dream interpreter, that you'd think he would surely remember that. This is 2 years have gone by now. Verse 10. Once when Pharaoh was very angry with his servants, this is the cupbearer talking, he put me and the chief baker in custody of the house of the chief steward. Later, we both had dreams on the same night, and each of our dreams had its own meaning. There was a Hebrew youth, that's Joseph, with us, a slave of the chief steward, and when we told him our dreams, he interpreted them for us and explained for each one of us the meaning of his dream. Things turned out just as he had told us. He was restored to my post. I was restored to my post, but the other man was impaled. The other man was killed. Pharaoh therefore had Joseph summoned, and they hurriedly brought him from the dungeon. And after he shaved and changed his clothes, he came to Pharaoh. Now, when they shave and they change their clothes, they clean up, it means there's going to be a different something coming in their life. We're going to find out what that is, but we're not going to find that out till next week. So next week, we'll start right here, and we'll see what happens when Joseph hears about Pharaoh's dreams. Don't miss it. I'll see you next week. God bless.